Alright guys, welcome to another video by Darklink Does Math. Today we are going over 13.3 guided notes, histograms, to dot plots, which was 13.2, in that they show how often things occur, they just show it differently. Whereas dot plots use dots to show how often things occur, histograms use bars, similar to bars. That divides the range of data into equal intervals. And it shows how often each interval occurs. So, data display, it divides your range of data into equal intervals like 0 to 1, 2 to 3, 4 to 5 into intervals, and it shows how often each of those intervals occur. So on dot plots we would have shown dots for every time something occurs. Now we're just going to use bars. Our second term is an outlier. Like the term suggests, it lies outside of everything. It is an extreme or rare occurrence I think I misspelled that. Who knows? Who cares? A rare occurrence of a value. So, for example, let's say we have students taking a test and they make 100, 100, 100, 90, 80, 70, and 20. Our outlier is going to be the 20. Because if I look at the rest of my data, I have all A's, 1B, 1C, but they're generally close to each other, 100 through 70. And then there's 50% difference between the 70 and this 20. So this 20 is very extreme. It doesn't really fit with everything else. So if you find something that just doesn't fit, it lies outside of everything, that is your outlier. Usually what outliers tell us is that something happened to cause that and there's not really any explanation. It just doesn't fit with your data. So when you're looking at your data, for example, if I was looking at these test scores, 100, 100, 100, 90, 80, 70, I would say overall they're doing good. This student did not fit with the rest of the data. It's not necessarily because of anything in the class. It may be because they were sick, or maybe they just didn't study like everyone else. Maybe they just did not do anything like all of the students here did to get that same type of score. So there's really no explanation until we actually ask them. So outliers just don't fit with everything else. Now, our first example of making a histogram says the table shows the number of minutes 25 students spent reading for pleasure one day. That means they actually like and enjoy to read. So the number of minutes go from 0 to 209 minutes. And notice that our range has been divided into equal intervals, 0 through 29, 30 through 59, 60 through 89, 90 through 119, and so forth. You'll also notice that there are the same amount of numbers in each interval. There are 30 numbers in every interval, 0 to 29. If you count that on your fingers, you'll get 30 numbers, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and on. So 30 numbers in each interval. So to create our histogram, we have 5 steps. Our first step is going to be draw your X and Y axis. Our second step is going to be use top row of chart for bottom number. That would be your y-axis. Or sorry, my bad, x-axis. Step 3. You're going to use the bottom row for left numbers and title. What do I mean by the left numbers and title? We're talking about this time, yes, your y-axis. So the numbers that are going to go on the left side of your graph, on your y-axis. And it also gives you your title. Step 4 is going to be make sure you have a main title, because everything has a title. If you don't have a title, everything's wrong. And then 5th, make sure you draw your bars, of course. Again, make sure you have all of these things. You have to have your X and Y axis, of course. That's your graph. You have to have titles and your numbers, of course. If you don't have titles, we have no idea what you're talking about, and there's no point in doing the graph in the first place. And then, of course, that leads us to the main title. If you don't know what your graph is, why are you even doing this? And then step 5, make sure you draw your bars so you actually know. We may have to increase this in length later. We'll have to see. So, we have our y-axis, we have our x-axis. I probably shouldn't have added that arrow yet. We might have to make it longer. Be careful with what you do. Remember, 0 always goes in the corner. Alright, so next step. We're going to use the top row of the chart for our bottom numbers and titles. So for our x-axis. So, let's look at our chart. This top row, right here, our top row is our title and bottom numbers of number line. So again, top row, it's going to be our title and bottom numbers for the x-axis. Now the bottom row it's going to be our title and left numbers. They also represent how many times something happens. Now, on the bottom row, we may not necessarily use exactly the numbers they use. We will maybe create our own interval. For example, we might count by 1s, we might count by 2s. It depends on how large these numbers are. Alright, so step 2, use the row, top row of our chart for our bottom numbers and title for our x-axis. So our x-axis is on the bottom. We're going to split this into we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 intervals. So We have 1 interval, 2 intervals, 3 intervals, 4, 5, 6, 7 intervals. We're going to put our information inside of each interval. For example, 0 through 29 goes right here, inside. Next, 30 through 59 goes inside. Next, 60 through 89. Next, 90 through 119. Next is 120 through 149. Next is 150 through 179. And then our last interval is 180 through 209. Notice I'm not putting the numbers on the actual dash marks. Put them in between. Next, we need our title. So what was the title? What are these numbers about? These are the number of minutes people are reading for fun. So we're going to write number of minutes. So you'll notice everything was literally copied right off the chart. So for our numbers, we copied them right out of our chart. For our title, we copied them right off the chart. Now, the y-axis will be similar, but just slightly different. So let's do step 3. We're going to use the bottom row for our left numbers and title for our y-axis. So let's go ahead and do the title first. This is frequency. We're going to use that title. Next, we want to look at our smallest and largest frequency. Our smallest number or values are 1 and our largest value is 7. So we have one person that read somewhere between 0 and 29 minutes. Maybe they read nothing, or maybe they read 29 minutes. We don't know. We just know they fit in that interval. And then we have 7 kids that read 90 to 119 minutes. So 1 to 7. So if I think to myself, I need 1 to 7 on here, am I going to count by 1s, 2s, 3s, 5s, 10s? Well, I'm just going to count by 1s. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Notice I have numbers on here that were not on here. I just need to go from my minimum to my maximum. Next, I have my bottom row title and my numbers. Now I need a main title. So what is this information going to be about? Well, it is about the number of minutes 25 students spent reading. So number of minutes students spend reading. Number of minutes students spend reading. Alright, last part. We're going to draw our bars. Now our bars will touch because this is 0 to 29, and notice right after is 30. So they're consecutive. They are going right next to each other. So how many students spent 0 to 29 minutes reading? 1. So what are we going to do? We're going to go up to 1 and connect it right here. I'm going to label that 1 so that I know that that is 1 student. That way I don't have to keep looking at my y-axis. Next, how many students spent 30 to 59 minutes? 3. So connecting to my bar, I'm going to go right up to 3. And I'm just going to label it 3. Next, 60 to 89, 5 students. So continuing right next to my bar, go up to 5. And I'm going to label it for quick reference. So this tells me 5 kids spent 60 to 89 minutes of reading, or for reading. Next, 90 to 119, 7. So we're going to continue right next. Your bar's got to touch. So 7 students. Next, 120 to 149, 5. So it dropped. So 5 was right about here. And we're going to label it 5. Next, 150 to 179, we're going to go 3. So right about there. It may be a good idea to use some sort of straight edge to make sure that they match and line up, such as that. And then last 180 to 209, right here at 1. So I'm going to look at my straight edge so I get it right. So right there. And I'm going to label this 1 and 3. We have our histogram. So one thing to think about, this is almost very similar to a dot plot. The only difference is instead of dots, we have bars. So if you were to imagine dots being in here, for example, I'd have 1 dot, a 2nd dot, and a 3rd dot. Here I would have 1 dot, 2 dots, 3 dots, 4 dots, 5 dots, and so on. So it's almost identical to a dot plot. The only difference is we have bars, and on our intervals, instead of single numbers, we have ranges of numbers, or intervals. All right, we're going to do one more thing that it does not ask. We're going to briefly describe the data. So first, we're going to talk about the shape. The shape works just like dot plots. Identify your mode. So our mode is our tallest stack. It's what occurs the most. Most students read 90 to 119 minutes. Now, how many values are on the left side? 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. How many are on the right? 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Oh, it's identical. All right, let's look at the shape. 1, 3, 5, 7, 5, 3, 1. It's a perfect symmetrical mountain. So our shape is symmetrical. Second, range. What is the highest value on here? Well, I have one student that read 180 to 209. 209 is the largest value. What's the smallest value? One student may have read 0 minutes. I don't know if it's 0 or 29 or 2 or 3. But the smallest it could have been is 0. I'm going to subtract those and get 209. And now I'm going to add my units because I have no idea what 209 is. Could be 209 tacos for all we know. So let's look at our title. This would be number of minutes. So this would be 209 minutes. And then third, we're going to make a conclusion. So what can we conclude about this? Well, we notice really quickly that most students read 90 to 119 minutes. Most students read 90 to 190. Sorry, messed that up again. 90 to 119 minutes. All right, at this time, we can do guided practice numbers 1 and 2 on page 229 of your textbook. All right, next example. On our next example, it says the data below shows the heights in inches of students in a class. So We have a student that is 50 inches, 66 inches, 67 inches, 61 inches, 68 inches, and so on. They're all scattered, of course. Nothing's ever easy. We have 3 things to do. Part A, group the data into 4 intervals, and we're going to display the data in a histogram. B, we're going to group the data into 8 intervals and display the data in a different histogram. And C, we're going to compare them and see what kind of differences there are and see if there's anything interesting we see. So, what do we mean by group the data into 4 intervals and then 8 intervals? Well, if we look at the example that we did first, this one had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 intervals. We split our range into 7 groups. So, it basically wants us to split these numbers into 4 groups and then do it again with 8 groups and compare them. So, your first step to do this, we're going to find the range. So, let's find our minimum number and maximum number and subtract them. So, our maximum number, what's the biggest number? I only see one number in the 70s, it looks like. Right here, 73. That's our max. Our minimum number looks like 50. And I guess you can't see that. Alright, so 73 minus 50 equals 23 inches. That's our range. Next, what are we going to do with that? Since it says group the data into 4 intervals, and based on the fact that our definition of histogram is that it's a display that divides the range, we're going to divide our range into 4 groups. So we're going to divide range into number of intervals needed. So, in this case, we would take 23, which is our range. We're going to divide it by 4, and we get 5.75. Now, what are we going to do with that? Third step. Round to the nearest whole number. So, 5.75 becomes 6. So, that means we're going to have 6 numbers in each interval. Now, what does that mean? Let's look at the last example real quick. 0 to 29. How many numbers were in that interval? 30. Because you have to include 0, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way to 29. You're going to count 30 numbers. If you don't believe me, use your fingers. So, we're going to have 6 numbers in each interval, starting with our minimum number, going to our maximum number. So, let's start our histogram. First step is to draw your X and Y axes. We're going to leave enough room for 2 different histograms. Keep that in mind. Alright, next, let's title this. Now, we don't have a chart. Very sad. That means we're going to have to think for ourselves and decide what are these numbers about, where do we put what where. I think I said that correctly. Alright, let's look at the first side. This side, pretty much always going to be frequency. It always tells you how many times something happens. So let's start there. So our y-axis is going to be the frequency. So next, what are these numbers about? Well, they're the heights in inches of students. So that's going to be our x-axis title, height or heights of students. Don't forget units, inches. Next, we need our numbers. So, don't forget 0, always in the corner. And we already know we're going to split it into 4 intervals. So, let's create 4 sections. Alright, let's start. So our smallest number is 50. We're going to count 6 numbers. Now, let's think about this. A lot of people might really quickly think, oh, 6 numbers, that's easy. 50 to 56, right? Well, let's see. 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, 56. Oh, that is 7 numbers. We can't count. So, we're only supposed to have 6 numbers in each interval. That means you need to really go to 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, 55. That would be 6 numbers. So, if you have to, use your hands. 50 to 55 is 6 numbers. Now, we're going to add 6 more numbers. So, the next number would be 56. 6 numbers would be 56, 57, 58, 59, 60, 61. 6 numbers in each interval. Next, 62. So let's count. 62, 63, 64, 65, 66, 67. Now, 6 more numbers. Starting with the next one, 68. 68, 69, 70, 71, 72, 73 would be 6 numbers. Guess what? We went from our minimum 50 all the way to our maximum 73. It worked out nicely. If it doesn't, you probably screwed up somewhere. You should double check your work always. Recount, use your hand, use whatever strategy possible to you. Alright, next, I need numbers. So, what am I going to do? I'm going to count how many numbers of each that we have in each group. So, from 50 to 55, we have 1, just 1. So we might want to jot that down somewhere. For example, right down there, because we might not know how many or how high to go. Now, if you're thinking to yourself, well, that seems like it might take forever, well, there's a different strategy. All you have to do is count how many people are in this class. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 times 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There are 40 kids. So, one way is I could go up to 40. We might not want to though. So, we're going to stick with what we had going first. So I know one kid is going to be in the 50 to 55. 56 to 61. Let's see, 56 to 61. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So I know 13 kids will go in that. Next, 62 to 67. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Last, I could take 40 kids, subtract these three numbers and get my last, or I could just count the rest. How many are in 68 to 73 range? Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So, my highest frequency is 18, meaning I need my y-axis to go up to 18. So, we're going to count by threes. So, 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18. All right, well, let's put these on here. So, 50 to 55. We've already done this. How many students were 50 to 55 inches? So, how many short kids? Well, there was one. One is going to be about right here. And I'm going to label it 1. Next, 56 to 61. We've already counted 13 kids. So, continuing right next to your bar, make sure they touch. Go up to 13. 13 is going to be about right here. And label it. Next, 62 to 67. There were 18. So 18 is right at the top. So right to there. So connect right up there. Go across. Connect it and make it go up. Label it. Next, 68 to 73. 8. So 8 is right under 9, right there. We might need to use a straight edge for that. And we get 8. Are we finished? No, because I have no idea what this graph is about. We don't have a title. So, what is it about? It's about the height of students in a class. So, I can tell that there's one short kid, 18 taller kids, and everybody else is in between. Alright, now, I'm also... Let's see. Nope, never mind. We're good. Now, next, it said group the data into 8 intervals. So, we would have to make another histogram, but this time we're going to take our range, which is 23, and we're going to divide it into 8, which is the number of intervals needed. So, 23 divided by 8 will give us 2.875. And we're going to round that, like it says, round to the nearest whole number. So that becomes 3. That means we want 3 numbers in each interval. Alright, so another histogram. I'm going to do it down here. Now, you might be asking, why did I make this one longer? Well, it's because these were in only 4 intervals. Because I only had 6 numbers in each interval. Now I only have 3 numbers in each interval, and I'm going to have 8 groups. So I'm going to need more room for all those extra groups. So, keep in mind, 0 is in the corner, always and forever. Split it into 8 groups. So this is about halfway. Alright, right here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, right at the edge of the paper. Now, I need 3 numbers in each group. So again, we start with 50, which was our smallest number. So 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, 55. 56, 57, 58, 59, 60, 61, 62, 63, 64, 65, 66, 67, 8, 69, 70, 71, 72, 73. Three numbers in every interval. Next, we need titles. So again, and this side will be the same, heights of students. In inches. Now, here I know that my highest interval was 18, so it's a safe bet that it would probably be the same, but you probably should still count. Now, to save time, I'm going to show you what they would be anyways. So, 50 to 52, if you count how many kids were 50, 51, and 52, you're going to come up with 1. These numbers are not necessary. 53 to 55, if you count them up, you're going to come up with 0. If you count the 56 to 58, 4 kids, then 9 kids, then 6 kids, then 12 kids, and 7 kids, and 1 kid. Now, if you look, the highest number is 12, meaning if I went at least to 18, I would be good, but I could technically be good with 12. So, this time I'm going to count by 2s. So, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. If you want to count by 1s, you can do that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. It's just a little bit extra work. If you want to count by 3s, that would be fine. If you count by something larger, probably not the best idea. Alright, next. Since I already have my numbers, I can make my bars. So 1 would be halfway between 0 and 2. So right there is my 1 kid. Next, 0 kids. No bar. So this is the only time you're going to have a bar that doesn't touch. How many kids were 56 to 58 inches tall? Well, 4 if you count them up in the chart. So go up to 4. Next, 59 to 61. 9. So 9 is halfway. Make sure your bars touch. We should be labeling. As we label them, I'm going to get rid of these numbers. 62 to 64, they were 6. 65 to 67, 12. 68 to 70, 7. And 71 to 73, 1. Again, I'm going to get rid of these numbers because they don't really have a place in our graph. I'm going to remove them from those as well. If you want to write your numbers, do so up here above the bars. Alright, we still need a title. This is heights of students in a class. Alright, we have done A and B. C, we're going to compare the two histograms. Now in this one, we lumped the numbers together more, and we only had 4 groups. Here we spread it out more with smaller groups. Notice it changes the size of the bars and it starts spreading them out more, showing us where these kids really are on how many, actually no, these aren't reading, on how tall they are. So, our tall kids right here in the 62 to 67 range, we had 18 kids. Notice right here, 6 of them were on the shorter side, 12 of them were on the taller side. So it broke those apart. Now, one other thing. When you use more intervals such as this, you'll notice certain things. This right here, this one kid, isn't he outside of everything else. So that means this one kid is our outlier. They don't really fit with everybody else. We have no idea why this kid is 50 to 52 inches tall. Maybe he just hasn't hit his growth spurt. Who knows? There could be so many reasons why he doesn't fit with the rest of the class. But the point is, he lies outside of the data, so we call this an outlier. It just lies outside of everything else. All right. We are going to briefly describe the data for this. We're using this chart. So, shape. Let's see, our tallest stack, our mode, 12. What happens the most? 12 kids are 65 to 67. We have 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 kids on the left, 8 kids on the right. Technically, we don't want to include our outlier. So for that reason, we only have 19 on the left and 8 on the right. So it is left skewed. Then range. Our largest height is 73. Our smallest height is 50. And 73 minus 50 is 23. This is inches. Next, conclusion. Our conclusion is what sticks out right here. Most of the students are 65 to 67 inches tall. So most students are 65 to 67 inches tall. And then last, normally we only do 3 things. However, if you ever identify an outlier, you must say so. So outlier, yes, one student is 50 to 52 inches tall. Whereas everyone else is 56 to 73. There's nothing bad with the outlier. It, again, just doesn't fit with everything else. It's rare or just extreme compared to everything else. All right, our last example. Thankfully, we don't have to draw another histogram. It's already been drawn for us. How nice. It says, the histogram shows a number of digital music files each student in a class has on a computer or other electronic players. Briefly describe the data. So, briefly describe, we're going to do 3 things. First, we want the shape. Second, we want the range. Third, we want a conclusion or inference or some type of observation. And 4, are there any outliers? So we've added something. All right. So first, shape. Let's identify. There are 2 kids that have 0 to 99 digital music files. Not very many. I have like 2,000 on my iPhone. Actually, no, I think I have 3,000. Way too many. How many kids have 100 to 199? 12 kids. Then 200 to 299, 9 kids. 300 to 399, 4 kids. 400 to 499, 3. Then 500 to 599 and 600 to 699. It's both 1 kid. So, how many kids are there? 12, 14, 18, 19, 20, 29, 33, 132. It looks like 32 kids. Hopefully I did not count wrong. That would be shameful. I'm a math teacher. Alright, so, anyways, what do we see? Well, our mode is right here. So, how many are on the right side? 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 18. How many are on the left? 2. So most of our data is on the right side, so it is right skewed. Next, our range. We have someone who read 600 to, or not read, they have 600 to 699 digital music files on their whatever. So 699 is the highest possible number of music files to have. Minus the smallest number could be 0. See that 0 right there? 2 kids might have 0. Maybe they have 1 song. Maybe they play it on repeat over and over and over and drive their siblings crazy. Who knows? Maybe they just have none. Maybe they don't like music. 699 minus 0 is 699. That is our range. 699 what? Music files. We always look at our titles. If you look at your titles, you know what you're talking about. Hopefully. Next, conclusion. What do we notice? Well, this sticks right out. It looks like most kids have 100 to 199 digital music files. Alright, outliers. Is there anything else or any data that doesn't fit? No. Everything fits. See how it's all connected? So, there's nothing that seems extreme or just out of place. Alright, at this time we can now do guided practice numbers 5 and 6 on page 233 of your textbook. Alright, the assignment that goes along with these notes can be found on page 234, numbers 1 through, let's see, 10. 1 through 10. Keep in mind that every histogram has 6 parts to it. You have your bars, your title, numbers, and main title. So, there are a lot of points on this assignment for every single thing. Also, before we go, one thing. Notice this title is not frequency. It doesn't always have to be frequency, but it could be. So keep that in mind. Again, frequency just means how many times does it occur, but in this case we're talking about how many students does it occur with. So this title can change. Alright, you all have a great day. Bye.